you smush it up and then bake it and cut it into strips. Like lasagna is the best way to do it because you don't have to cut much.
I'm in. Sign me up. I'll do it.
Yeah, right. Oh.
That sounds cool.
I've been making whipped cauliflower for lunch every day. I love it. Oh my gosh, it's so much better than potatoes. It doesn't like stuff you up.
We do a lot of that too.
And it's tasty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, it's the butter.
Mm-hmm. It is. Since I've been doing this diet for a few weeks and I just crave fats all the time. Just like, I just go, like after we finish classes, I go and eat peanut butter out of the jar.
Well, that has a lot of carbs, so be careful.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
The better nuts are macadamia nuts.
Ooh, that's what I had today. Salad.
Pecans, pistachio. Those are 3 good fatty nuts.
Okay.
With fiber.
Okay. I don't know how long I'll stick with it, but I'll take the tips. A few weeks is pretty good. I mean, for me, I feel confident that I can keep going now.
Cool. Well, shall I get started?
I think so. Let's do it.
Or should I wait for...
No, I think he likes it when we get started, and I think it's good. At least pull it up, get everything pulled up. Here's the boss himself. Hey.
Oh, double again.
Kit Kat bars for dinner again.
Chocolate chip cookie. Yes, Win.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, Win's there.
Yes, all the cool people are here.
Well, I see that. I know.
Yeah.
Hi, Win. Thank you.
I'll show you. Okay, Venerable Upa.
Okay.
Oops.
Welcome to the quiz for class 3. And I tried to make this a little easier.
Yay.
Hopefully I was successful. You can let me know. Okay. Our opponent is not pleased by KWJ's response to his question about just how it is that an appearance that's merely labeled by thought appears to a non-conceptual sense power. What was it that KWJ, how did KWJ respond to him? What did he say that our opponent is so displeased about?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
It's happy.
Do you remember what the question was specifically?
It was this. His question was, how can an appearance that's labeled by thought appear to a sense power that's not involved with thought?
Oh yeah, that's a good
It's
question.
just taking in color, shape, decibels, pitch, like that.
Mm-hmm.
You remember what KWJ say? It had something to do with a very famous montage that appears in the ACI courses.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I don't remember.
Oh, Siri thought I was talking to her.
ACI.
It has something to do with waving a wand and sprinkling.
Yeah. The horse and the...
It is something like, how can you be misled by a mirage, which is not there?
Well, that's what our opponent is saying, but how does KWJ respond to him?
Something about the horse not being able to appear as a horse because it's the magic words that make it a horse, something like that?
Well, what he says is that if it were contradictory for it to appear to a sense power, then it would be impossible for a magically conjured horse to appear to a sense power, because the magically conjured horse is just merely labeled by conceptual thought.
Yeah. I remember. What an amazing conversation they're having.
Right. So do you find KJ's response satisfying? Like if you were our opponent asking that question, would that satisfy you?
No, I don't think it ends the conversation.
Well, it certainly doesn't end it, but like for me, I was thinking, yeah, I've never seen that particular trick. I've never been sprinkled by magic dust. But I have seen other magic, and yeah, my senses were fooled. So yeah, I get that. I get that things can appear wrongly to my sense perceptions, but why? How exactly? What's going on? That wasn't made clear by KJ's response, and of course he's not finished. I'm not dissing KJ by any stretch of the imagination. So our opponent then says, okay, if you're going to respond like that, this is what you have to do. So if you recall from last class, we went through this list of 4 things that the opponent said to KJ, this is what you got to do. So in keeping with the new trend, here are the 4, and what I would like is you to give me the English and then the Tibetan for the English. And let's start at the top. So the onus, that's a clue for the first missing English.
Something like, well, then you have to describe and the
Yes, perfect. And what's the Tibetan for that?
Ona.
Onas.
No.
Shaker.
Good is in there. Japar, Jagu.
Chapar Jaga. Cool.
Okay, firstly, KJ, you have to describe how a physical form appears to a sense consciousness.
Blank of the words for its.
as the basis of the words.
As the basis, and what's the Tibetan for as the basis?
Tenla.
Yeah.
Sheila.
Closer, very close. As the
Sheer.
basis.
Sheer.
Yeah, perfect.
Sure. Wow. Nice.
For its blank and blank.
That's
We've been
easy.
talking about this blank and blank for like 3 or 4 terms now. Do you remember the first word
Name and label.
no,
My last 2 paychecks.
no.
Essential nature and
Yes,
characteristics.
essential nature. What's the Tibetan for essential nature?
Namrik. Or there's a
The
few.
only time it gets quiet in these classes is during the homework.
Yeah.
It's no.
No.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And then its pair is essential nature and
Characteristics.
characteristics. Yay. And what's the Tibetan for that?
Zen.
No,
Newton.
no. Shape art.
Oh,
Mm.
okay, cool. Yeah, features. I mean, in my head.
Moreover, KJ, you have to describe how it appears. Now, a big clue here is how big this Tibetan area is.
Mhm. Through some nature of its own.
Yeah, but what's another way of saying that in English?
By definition,
Yeah, as existing by definition.
existing.
And then what's the Tibetan for that?
Rangi Tseniki Drupa.
As existing by definition. You just were missing a final letter.
Rangi Tseni La Drupa.
Rangi Tseneki Drupar.
Oh, Kizutrik. I gotcha.
And then thirdly, how it is established by blank and blank. And then another clue is how little these spaces are for the Tibetan.
Mhm.
By name.
Yes, by name.
And
And what's the
label.
Tibetan for name?
Ming
Ming, yes. And
label.
what we've been calling it
Mental image.
mental image, yes. And what's the Tibetan for that?
Or yeah.
And then the last one is something that we basically, I think, we were just introduced to it last class. This new kind of way of thinking. So how it is defined is the basis of what we
Perceive.
well,
Long Tibetan, so.
it's a phrase that combines two words.
Of what we hold.
What we conceptually hold it to be.
Mm.
And the Tibetan then for conceptually hold it to be is Tokpe Shen.
Shen. I knew it was one of the Shens.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great, good job.
Tough
I
homework.
thought you said it was going to be easy.
Yeah, you said you promised us the easy homework.
Hey, someone is answering them all, which is, something new and exciting. Please give the correct spelling for kuntak, as well as the common misspelling, and then bonus point for the related Sanskrit word for the correct spelling. So first, what's the correct spelling?
Kasha ku na kun hao ratatata kasa tak.
Sorry, that's the answer to
misspelling.
B.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the incorrect spelling. Okay, good.
Isn't it that without the ra?
Yes,
Yeah.
without the ra.
Yeah.
And B is with the ra.
Yeah.
Did anyone catch what the Sanskrit word is?
For the correct one?
Yeah.
I did, but now I forgot.
Yay! Parikapita.
Oh, nice.
What is it?
Brilliant.
That had to be Oscar.
Parikapita.
I'll let Oscar take the credit.
Oh, that was Adam. You said it so quietly.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Nice homework.
Thank
You got more
you.
suffering for us?
I do,
All right.
as is my want.
Yes.
I just have to reshare. And then figure out amongst all these teeny pictures which one it is.
By the way, those of you who are interested, Bet or Utpala just finished editing the new Medicine Buddha book, which now has both the longer Medicine Buddha Sutra and the shorter Medicine Buddha Sutra. And Aisha found the Sanskrit, which was located in an ancient stupa in Afghanistan and was carved on birch bark, tree bark, in Gilgit Sanskrit script. and it's all converted to our system, and the book's coming out in a couple of days.
And I also want to give a shout out, because I had 2 days to edit it, that Rebecca Vinicor and Ella DePass, on a very, very early Saturday morning, spent 5 hours of their weekend day off to help me edit. So thank you very much for that.
Cool. Okay. Here we go.
Do
Translation.
you want me to read, or did we already read them?
Oh, yeah. You can read, and as per custom, Nick will check the first person. Okay.
Is it big enough? Can you see?
Yes, it is.
It's fine.
Can I do? Hey, Woodfall, can I interrupt you one more time?
Yes.
I know I never interrupt you. We are lucky today to have a lot of guests here in the studio, and I wanted to introduce some of them. I don't know if I can do this. Let me see. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, can you stop sharing your screen for a second, Gen? Or
Yeah, no, you.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, everyone sit up straight in there.
Hey, half of them just woke up.
Oh, Nancy Karen. Hi.
Anyway,
a lot of people.
Tim, look at all those people. Oh my gosh.
we are honored to have, especially I just want to say that the ALL group, John Brady's
Oh, serious. Yay.
team, John Brady's team that finds the ancient books for us. They're having a conference here this week, and I'm really grateful to see them. Emma Lewis, many of you don't know. She's been working for a few years with John, I think, and she has helped get us access to the important libraries in Mongolia. And John Brady just walked in on time as usual. And John, we're just praising you. So Emma Lewis, also we have Joel Crawford here, who's the
Tech wizard.
Who's the main programmer for the database. We have Nancy Karen, who's the financial master advisor. Thank you. Emma Sperber, who takes care of a lot of the publicity, especially the nice newsletter that comes out. Thank you for that. Stina Kasica, who first helped to locate the grants and the books and everything else. Where is she? Oh, hi. Yeah. Stanley Chen and Elsie Joe have also their China classic soft power group in China has done a lot of visits to Mongolia to see the library and see the ancient books, and they've given a huge amount of support to ALL. So I'd like to thank them for this. And if we don't have them, we don't have anything. Okay, if we don't have ALL, we don't have anything. And Grandpa is extremely critical about this kind of work. As some of you know, I could complain about any small thing. And I've been using the database a lot recently for different programs, especially for the translation of Adam's book, which is a 640-page book on Buddhist logic, and his first book. And I used the database from Mongolia heavily. I used it like all day for like a month, and I didn't find any errors. And I'm very whiny about errors. I hate mistakes in the data, and I'm very happy to point them out anytime. And I have to say, I was flabbergasted. That means pleasantly surprised. And I don't know how you do it, but I'm extremely grateful, and the mixed nuts are extremely grateful to you. And good job. Yeah. That's why we have data to read right now. Okay, next check.
Stage Teni Gitar Powered Jashina Deni Dor Duna Nampasunte Shenki Wangi Tsenidang Kun Pak Pe Tsenidang Young Sudrupe Tsenito.
Yeah, okay. Okay, good. So seni normally means what?
Definition.
Yeah, and here it doesn't mean that. It means the characteristics, because it goes on to speak of the three characteristics of the
Mind-only school.
mind-only school. And basically, the mind-only school says there's only three kinds of things in the universe. Shen Wangs, changing things, things that come from causes. They are called other powered because they depend on their causes. Okay, they rely on their causes, so they're called other powered by other. Okay, Shenwang. And then there's all especially the wrong ideas we might have about things like gakcha, right? So to believe that the pen comes from the pen side and not from my side, that's called kuntak, which means sort of a creation of your mind. Okay, we call here a construct of the mind. It's a fake construct. By the way, there are some real kuntaks. For example, takpa things, unchanging things in the mind-only school are considered real constructs that are correct. But mainly here, emphasize. By the way, that's going to be important later. And then Yonsa Dupa, which means sort of something which covers all of reality, which means everywhere in this room, every single thing in this room has a quality of not coming from its own side. So every object in this room, including the thoughts in this room, don't come from their own side, and they have that kind of emptiness, and that's called Yongdup. And they phrase it as an equation. Take all the changing things in this room, kind of subtract all our wrong ideas about them, that they come from their own side, and you kind of come out with emptiness. Okay, it's kind of like that. So this is a general question in the mind-only. We're covering the mind-only school's understanding of emptiness in Udpala's book right now, which is a very, very famous book. And by whom?
I'm
Katie.
sorry, are you talking about where this quote comes from, or
Whole book. Yeah,
the book I'm working on?
yeah, comes from Kedub J.
Yeah, K.J.
Is this a quotation from the Yogacara?
It's from Mahayana Samgraha.
Sangraha Avasanga, which is one of the main ancient Indian books about which the mind-only school was built on. Okay, and
this is from the second chapter, apparently.
Yep. And then, so if you want to divide all the stuff in the universe, there's changing stuff. There's stuff that's just a construct of your mind, could be fake, could be real. And there's the emptiness of self-existence in the universe. If you wonder how to regard the characteristics of all existence, they are condensed into three types. Characteristics, change the characteristic constructs. Yep, good. Next paragraph, please read. I think Dr. Kramer is checking.
Hey, de la shengi wangi seni kang shena, kang kunshi nampar shepe sabunchin yangdak pa mayen pa kun tope dupe nampar rikbao.
Yeah, good. What is the characteristic of changing things? It is distorted perceptions encompassed by the misconceptions, foundation, concepts, QICs. That's good. That's so he's emphasizing that the changing things in the world, or the things in the world that are caused by other things in the mind-only school, are caused by the seeds in your what we call foundation consciousness. We like to call it the refrigerator that holds your seeds inside your brain. And he says all changing things in the world are popping out of seeds in your mind. And in the mind-only school, because they're called mind-only, more of the objects in the world than we would say in other schools are actually images that are popping out of seeds in your mind. When you see blue, for example, you are seeing an image or a reflection of blue coming out of seeds inside your own mind, and there is no outer object called blue, okay, according to them, okay? And then there's a suitcase in your mind where all those seeds stay. That can be called foundation. Sometimes they call it storehouse consciousness, kunshi. And inside of there are all the seeds. And the important thing here in this treatment by Master Sangha is that he's calling that number Shepa, he's calling the refrigerator Yan Dapa Mayan. What's that mean? Yan Dapa Mayan.
Impure.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. It is flawed. The place where all seeds are stored for your world, the place itself is flawed. There's something wrong with the place itself. It's somehow impure. And kuntope dupe number ripo, it involves perceptions that are also polluted by some kind of imagination of things existing outside, for example. So first of all, it's flawed in the first place, and it's responsible for a lot of bad ideas, especially that things might exist outside of your mind, okay? So that in this section, more than in words text, for example, kunchi is being presented as something negative, something flawed. And then someone mentioned the other day, well, there's another consciousness accepted by the mind-only school, a seventh one called, or an eighth one called, Nyinyi. And isn't that the bad guy? Why is foundation consciousness or storehouse consciousness being described in this section of this book as the bad guy, when the real bad guy is a separate part of your mind which misunderstands your storehouse consciousness, okay? So that the guy who misunderstands how the seed makes blue coming out of the storehouse consciousness, there's a separate part of your mind which looks at the storehouse consciousness and thinks that that's not the way things are. And then this one is called bad thought or negative thought, negative consciousness. So somebody in the class the other day said, Geshe-la, why are they painting the storehouse consciousness as being polluted or dirty or something, when it's the separate consciousness that looks at it and misunderstands it, that we all agreed is going to be called negative consciousness. This is negative in the sense of it looks at the kunchi and misunderstands it. Kunchi itself, the storehouse itself, is impure because it creates samsara. That's kind of a big thing. Okay, all the pain in the world, all the suffering in the world, the bombing in this today that went on today, the death that resulted today, that's all coming out of kunchi. Okay, so in that sense, kunchi is a bad guy also. So could you live without a kunchi? Could you?
Yes.
Could you dissect it out? You know, we got to talk about that. All right. Okay. Next paragraph. And who's gonna check you? Adam, are you there? I know you have a bad cold, but that's the time when you need an extra good seats.
Sure. I agree.
En kang shina. Lu tang, lu chen tang, sab poe namparikpa tang. De nye par che par jawe namparikpa tang. Nye war.
Yeah.
Che par jawe namparikpa tang. De la nye war chupe namparikpa tang. Duki namparikpa tang.
Yeah, so you keep seeing Nambarikpa repeated here. And it's a kind of a new word that we haven't had a lot. It's going to be abbreviated to Namrik. And it kind of means a false impression. Okay, here, it also means the mind in general. So it's very confusing here. And especially in the mind-only school, sometimes, though rarely, the mind-only school is called the Namrik school, the mental school. But that's not what it means here. Namrik here means like some kind of distorted perception, okay, and the object of the distorted perception, okay. Both the distorted perception and the object of the distorted perception are kind of blended together into the word numeric. And we're going to have a long list of numerics here, okay. Number one, there's your body, okay. Distorted perception of your body, distorted perception of the person who possesses the body. Distorted perception of the profound, and we don't know what that means yet, because it could mean 100 things.
And Geshe, I added this because of this.
I'm not sure it's not Kunshi, but let's say that for now. I think you're okay. And then you're talking about Nyewa Chepa Chawa means objects that are experienced, or objects that are the, what do you call that? The scope of activity. They are the scope of activity. Chepa means to act. That's the Chepa in Chanju Sembe Chepa Lanjupa.
Entering the way of the Bodhisattva?
Yeah, and entering the Bodhisattva's way of life. Way of life is Chepa. Okay, avatara in Sanskrit. Okay, so Newa Chepi Chawi number Ripa. The distorted perception about what you're seeing, what you're experiencing, and then the distorted perception of the experiencer, the person experiencing it. And then why he threw in a distorted perception of time, okay, of time itself, okay. And we're hoping he's going to explain these. I don't think he does, but.
Not in the clip we have.
Yeah, I don't know why he threw them in here. But.
He's categorizing all existing things into a certain number.
Yeah, and we still have to add the distorted perception part. So a distorted perception of numbers, or count, distorted perception of objects or the worlds, distorted perception of conventions or terms, distorted perception of the distinction between self and others. Good, nice. Distorted perception of those in the higher realm, lower realm, death, and I would throw in Poa. Chipoa, death and
Transition.
Yeah, transition is a nice word. I don't usually use it, but it's a nice one. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, Chipoa. Death and transition. I like that. That might become a mixed nuts standard. We'll put your signature on it. And birth itself. Good. Okay, cool. Nice job. Difficult, super difficult.
Thank you.
And confusing. I mean, I don't think there's any. I don't know if he uses this in his argument, but he did quote it, so we have to translate it. All right, here we go. That was the easy part.
Yay. I was going to ask on the quiz, how many times last class did Geshe say, well, let's just go on, I think it will help, and then we interrupted him, and the number was quite high.
That's okay.
So hopefully that doesn't happen this time.
Emma and you guys, when you see the normal text here, unbolded, that's the book we're translating. And then when you see something like this bold part, and by the way, because it's indented, it's a quotation. This whole section here, because it's indented on both sides, it's a quotation or a citation from an ancient book. And then because we have the database, it used to take me 2 or 3 days to find each quotation. I used to go manually through them, the Tengyur and the Kungyur, and which is 310,000 pages. Okay, it takes a while. And now we can just do it in a few seconds. And here you can see, because of Joel Crawford's search program and he's also here, and I bow at your lotus feet. We can find the quotation in a few seconds. Okay, we can find it in less than a minute. And that's so powerful. It's so extremely helpful. And no translation team in history has had this tool. Nobody even had the books they needed. And now we have 16,000 books input searchable, and we have, I think it's about 12 million pages total scan. So we have more resources than any translators in history. And so we're able to do better work than any translators. Okay, here's the quotation. And this is where it came from. Okay, here. And we got it. We went and got it. Okay, now the more English you see interspersed in the Tibetan, the more difficult the original text is. Usually there's no English, but here you're gonna see lots because it was very difficult, extremely difficult, okay? But here we go. So please read, and Hassel wants to come up here and criticize you. He just asked me if he could sit up here and criticize you in public. Okay. All right.
Hello.
Okay.
Thank you, kind sir.
She's gonna make 3 mistakes just to make you happy.
Okay.
All right.
She kunshi nam shela yepe bakchak kiwangi yang dakpayim patte shinchi lag ki nangsu.
What'd she say? He said chinchi what?
Chinchi Loki.
Chinchi loki.
Thank you. Shinchi loki nang itsu yepe yang dagma yin kunto yang dagma yin kunto kinam re
And then you gotta skip down to here. Sorry. Shen Wang.
shen wang ki tsowar tene
Good.
itabui nam riki jewe
Whoa.
Yewa.
yewa chepana.
Nice. Okay, good. I also should introduce Osiris Luciano, who is doing all the fundraising videos for ALL, and probably is the reason they make so much money in donations. And I have to say, you know, we have about 13 or 14 organizations around the world, big. So, like DCI is 148,000 clients. And we all depend on ALL. So the whole thing depends on ALL. So we gotta really thank you guys, and we're really grateful to you. And if you can donate to ALL, they have 150 years to go in cataloging. They have 750 years to go. By the way, don't think it's a big number. This year we spent, this is the 35th anniversary in the first generation. We're almost ready to pass it on to the next generation, especially the fundraising, okay? So what I wanna say is it's always worth the money. If you have extra money, you don't know what to do with it, give it to John Brady. Okay, that's what I do. Okay. Kushi Nam She. What this is, okay, the she means what this is saying. The quotation we just had from the Mahayana Sangha, which is about 1700 years old, and was in the ALL database by 1999 or something, a whole tenure. So anyway, the 4,600 existing titles from India were all completed by the turn of the century, last century. She Kunshi Nam She La Yepe Bakchak. What's that mean, Utpala?
So Kunshi Nam
Kunshi,
is the foundation consciousness.
yeah, and this says
And then
Yepe Bak.
Bakchaks would be like impressions on it.
Yeah, the karmic
But-
that are
Yeah.
that are
And
present.
then
Yeah, good.
and then ki wang ki by the power of those impressions.
Yeah, due to the,
Then the yul yang dakpa mayinte would be the objects have an impure,
yeah,
appear. I don't know where appears, but
the objects,
maybe the shade would be considers them impure.
yeah, our perception of the object is corrupted. In the mind-only case, it looks like it's outside in the outside world, but it's not. So due to nasty seeds in the storehouse consciousness, those open, and we believe, because of their influence, we believe, for example, that blue is outside of us and we're not watching blue inside our mind. Okay? And the big question to this section is very subtle. If I'm misperceiving, if I'm mistakenly believing that the blue that I see is in the outside world, right? That means the blue itself somehow deceived me. Okay, the blue was lying to me. Okay, and the blue was presenting my mind with a false impression. Okay, so the question is does that false impression exist? Because if it's false, it's not real. Okay, so how can a seed produce a false impression? You see what I mean? That's the big problem here. Something is lying to you. Something is misleading you. Something is making you think the wrong way. And it has to be coming out of the storehouse somehow, from some kind of seed. But how can a rabbit's horn coming out of the blue deceive your mind? How can something that doesn't exist trick you? Okay, how is that? Okay, that's the whole question here. Okay, that's the whole question here. And then the answer we had from last week was, well, then when a magician emanates a horse out of a stick, which is the most famous example for the lower middle way school, then doesn't that come from somewhere? It's real. The appearance of the horse is real. The horse is not real, but the appearance of the horse it's coming from somewhere. So we're trying to identify the seed in the mind that creates these false images, these mirages, and those aren't real. So how can something unreal pop out of a seed? You know, it's weird. That's the whole discussion, and it's a good discussion. And what he said was, if you can't understand how an outside object is fooling you, you will never be able to stop it. You will never see the truth. Okay, it's very interesting. He said, don't jump right into trying to stop the appearance. First, figure out how the heck can the appearance even be coming at you. Figure that out, and the rest is easy. Okay, he said, don't worry about what your mind is doing or you taking the appearance as real. Don't go there. Ask yourself, where did that appearance come from in the first place? And then fixing it is no problem. Okay, so that's Khedrubje's unique approach. And this book is very, very unique, very, very famous. Very, very famous presentation, Emptiness, and very long. And Geshe-la is still talking. Chinchi Loki Nangso, what's that mean?
And it appears all backwards.
Yeah, it appears in a mistaken way. It appears, for example, that the name fire belongs to fire. And it appears, for example, that the heat of a fire belongs to fire and that it's not coming from me. Okay, it seems to be coming from the fire. Okay, all right. That was his big example that he started out with. So yupe yanda mayim bikuntok in numeric. Yeah, and your kuntok means your. This is a different spelling. Okay, this is not the token kuntak. Okay, because it has a and by if technically you should call it a rango. Rango. Ngo means head. Ngo means head letter. Rango means it has a ra on top of the T. Okay, so if it has this not related to kuntak. Okay, BTAGS. Okay, Okay, kundoki namrik. So you got a wrong impression in a mistaken state of mind. Okay, okay, the wrong impression of a mistaken state of mind or an imagination. Kundoki namrik. Okay. Shenwangi tene. So when we're dealing with deception in the mind-only school, he says it mainly relates to Shenwan. It mainly you're misunderstanding how things cause other things. Okay, that's the main deception going on in the mind-only school. Tene, data tabu namrik. That kind of what, Utpala? That kind of, we can say mistaken impression, okay?
Okay.
That kind of mistaken impression. Hey, let's yewa check.
Divide it up.
Let's cut it up.
Look at all the flavors it comes in, okay? That mistaken impression, is it just one or is there different flavors of it? And of course, there's different flavors. Here's how many of them? Here's 3 big ones, okay? Hassel's still checking you.
One part of bakchaki wangi yul namwe namrik. Dang dak kutawe bakchaki wangi namwe namrik. Dang sipe yang laki bakchaki wangi namwe namrik sun. Du sung ne teta kyang chitabu yin pani. Tekte.
Yeah, so there's 3 different false impressions described in the scriptures, okay? One is called Lumbar Jupe Bakchak. Oh, sorry, one occurs because of Lumbar Jupe Bakchak. Bakchak means?
Are we calling them impressions here?
Yeah, it's similar to them. I mean, in DCI, we would call them mental seed. We wouldn't try to distinguish it from sabans.
But since we talked about sabun up above, and bakchaks are different, right?
You can think of it as a proto-saban, okay? It's kind of the impression that creates the seed, right? I like to think that when I do something negative, it makes an impression on my mind, and then it takes a couple of hours for that impression to change into a seed. How's that? So you can call the initial impression in the mind like clay, like a thumbprint in clay. That's the bakchak. And then when it cooks in the mind for, I don't know, a couple of hours.
Can you stop it in between?
That'd be interesting. It becomes a summon. Then it becomes a summon. Okay. In the wheel of life, it's the link 1 goes to link 2, right? Okay. So anyway, due to an impression in the mind, now this Lumba Jupa is a nasty word. We had it before. And we're 6 years into our project. We started this particular translation project 6 years ago. We targeted about 120 classics that we would like to translate. Many of the translators have finished 1 already, and they're on their 2nd book. Some of the translators, we project 50-year completion date. Tim, unfortunately. Stanley used to have the record, it was 26 years. But some of these books are going to take a long time. So
this is only 2.5 years, Geshe-la.
Yeah, your book's okay. So we're putting them out kind of in full volumes of about 500 pages. And Tim's book will be 8,000 pages. So his translation will be 8,000 pages. So rather than waiting for the 8,000th page, we are putting them out in 500-page pieces. Okay, and it's a very ambitious project to cover every different major school in the last 25 centuries. And so that's 12 major schools and 12 major languages. And those languages are completely different. If you hang around for tomorrow and hear the Vinaya, right? That's exactly 2,500 years old. That's the oldest language we're dealing with. This language here is about 1,700 years old. And I love to, I did this to my wife last night. Wanda prela with Ishara Sota, the doctor match at Perse to the Rotan Ball, that every Venus, which the core of which there two engendered is the fruit. What language?
It means please pass the salt, right?
No, it's English. That's English. That's common English 500 years ago. Okay. What do you call it? Chaucer. So, so imagine that times 500. Imagine that much change in the language multiplied times 500. And then you've got, I'm sorry, times 5. And then you've got the mixed nuts challenge. We're dealing with languages that were forgotten 2,000 years ago. Okay. All right. That's our problem. All right. Ngamba Jibba. So, Ngamba Jibba, what's it mean, Upala? I mean, tell us then what it says and then tell us what it means.
Articulation?
That's nice. Yeah. What's articulation mean to a normal person?
Oh, like spelling it out.
Yeah, or stating.
Or stating, yeah.
Stating.
Directly, stating in a direct way.
So that seed in your mind, it's called a talk seed. It's called a talk seed. Okay. And what is a talk seed?
A talk seed.
Yeah, a talking seed. And this is the punchline. For millions of years, in your history of you personally, in your personal karmic lifetime history of millions of lifetimes, you have always spoken about the popcorn out there in the bowl. Okay, look, Hasa has to reach to it, go to eat one. God, that's not how many you ate before. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. So, so Geshe-la said to Hasso, reach your hand out and take some popcorn, right? Now, if you do that once, if I say that once, it's not going to put a lie into his mind. But if I say it for 1 billion times in his past lives, then he begins to believe that the popcorn is outside. Okay, even though it's not. And it creates the exact distance from his body to the popcorn bowl. It creates the exact distance from him to the popcorn bowl. Okay, it's all that distance, according to the mind-only school, is fake. It doesn't really exist. It's just a result of the constant repetition of the idea that you had to reach out to get it. Okay, and then you start to believe that it's outside. And then it's harder to fix it because it's outside. And that's the Buddhist part here. Okay. If you understand that it's part of your mind that's messing up, you can tinker here. You can make small adjustments in your seeds. And then you can have the largest diamond jewelry company in the world with no experience. You see, you can do things like that if you understand what's really going on. Okay, got it? All right. You want to go see section 282, Paula, or you want to go straight
Oh,
to
we got 4 minutes, so it's up to you.
Let's go see it. We got time.
Okay.
Okay. He defines that weird seed for distance. Okay. He defines it. It has a weird name. It has a dumb name, which is the talking seed. And so if you didn't know what it was, right, it's really a seed for the misimpression of distance. Okay, out there. It's the seed for the misimpression of distance. They call it a talking seed. Now you know why. Because you talked about that distance for billions of lifetimes. Okay, I thought you'd like to see, is the mic, or did you remember? Oh, you did. Oh, okay, let's look up Japa.
Oh, so it's 280? No, that's no.
It moved. Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, it moved. Let's see if it's. Yeah, here we go. Here's. I don't care how much time we have. Let's finish it. Just
284.
read it straight. We won't interrupt you, right? How's some meal eat? We will reach out to the popcorn.
Tokna me pane. ndi ngumpo ndi sukso ndi sukikewao. She sok ngo dan kepar ki tane tope len mang du jepa gompe shakpe bakchaki wangi sharwe nangmat sam yena. Bakchak te la ni ngumpar jepe bakchak she chao.
Yeah, so because we're out of time, I'm going to go fast. I'm going to work from the back. Hey, you guys want to know what's a talking seed? Okay. Oh, it's a bakchak. It's a mental impression. How did it start? Togmamepane. I said billions. That was a simplification. For time with no beginning. You have been saying, oh, look at the blue out there. Oh, look at the blue. It's such a nice shade of blue. You've been saying things like that. You've been talking about what's out there and then the characteristics of what's out there. Oh, it's a pretty blue, or it's a dark blue, or it's a light blue. Somebody called my car a periwinkle. I wasn't sure to be. It is that color apparently. No, forget it.
No,
Okay.
it's not period.
Len Mangtu Chepa. Countless times you said, "Oh, the popcorn's out there." Komba.
Habits.
You've
Yeah,
been quite familiar with it.
You developed a mental habit, and then that jokpa, the bakchak. Okay. And because of that bakchak for many lifetimes, every time you see something, it opens and it creates the misconception that there's distance. It creates that weird thing coming at you that makes the bowl look like it's out there. Okay, cool. That's kind of the punchline, right? And we call that bakchak a ngunja bakchak, a talking bakchak. Okay, cool. All right, Nick. You're gonna give us some extra time for dinner, right? This is why we're eating this junk food.
Geshe-la, what
yeah.
can I do for homework, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna take you back to where you were. Hang on.
271.
Hang on. Yeah, 271, right?
Yes.
I'd like you to translate 271, okay? And then I'd like you to translate 272. Those two, okay? That's
Okay.
it. Yep. Okay.
Thank you very much, Geshe-la.
Yeah, stop those tough homeworks and give us something easier.
That was an easy one.
I'm just kidding. Nick, how much time we got?
If you guys are gonna eat dinner, let's do 9 minutes.
Wait, cancel that. Our dinner didn't show up. We should make this the short break.
All right, so 5 minutes.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Geshe Michael. That was awesome. This book is so cool.
Painful. All right.
Do it in 5 minutes.
Okay, good.